Hey everyone, I'm Airwingmarine. Welcome back to the channel and my next Escape From Tarkov video. We're going to do the much requested hideout profit guide, as well as kind of a crafting guide, just what you should do in your hideout to make the most money and make the most out of your crafts. So without wasting any more time, let's jump right into it. So again, the point of this whole video is to show you how to maximize your profits. It doesn't show you how to save money. It doesn't show you like easy things to do. This is all about making as much money as possible, as fast as possible. So if you're into that, don't stack crafts. And I'll get into it a little bit more later, but the premise is that if you make a red gunpowder in the hideout, don't then take that red gunpowder and craft something else with it. Sell the red gunpowder, and you should just be making red gunpowder and selling that, not using that to craft other things, if your goal is to make as much money as possible. Now, the prices I run with here are averages with some trends to them. You can beat my numbers, and I encourage you to try to do so. But I have to have a video that I can tell to everybody that it doesn't matter what time of day you play or when you look, you have a safe craft that you know you can go to. This especially applies if you're good at buying and selling on the swings, i.e. you buy your materials on the low parts, you know, when something gets real cheap, and sell when that price is at its peak, not so much the average. And almost every item in the game does that at some point, some degree or another. Some are more wild than others, some are less. Through this process, I also take into account flea market fees, and I do that assuming you don't have Intel level 3. And nor do I take in skill levels for hideout management or anything like that, or crafting for the durations. The most profitable crafts are very rarely affected by these factors, but when they are, I will point that out. This also exemplifies why the level 3 Intel Center is so important, because once you reach that, some crafts that aren't profitable are actually profitable once you get the bonuses out of the level 3 Intel. And then it just makes everything else you do that much more profitable. And then lastly, make sure this is the most recent video. I update these frequently, so if you're watching this and it's about 2 weeks old, take a peek and make sure there's not a newer one out there for you to get a little bit better information out of. All right, first thing we're going to look at here is the med station. And right now, pile of meds are the thing to craft. They're the top craft that make you the most money, especially if you can get your augmentin for less than 30K or get them out of raid. Now, if you get them out of raid, even if they're found in raid, I don't suggest selling these. The flea market fee for augmentin is right at 11%, and the one for pile of meds is only 9%. So you're going to save a little bit of money there just doing that, not even counting the profit you make out of the pile of meds. So you should never be selling augmentin. Once you craft your pile of meds, make sure you try to sell them for over 17K. I do this most days. I wait till I get maybe 25, 35. Some days it's even like 50, but I get a bunch of them. I put them on the market and I sell them for 17.5, sometimes even 18.5. And use that to maximize how much money I can make. This is a little bit harder to do on the weekends when the player population grows and there's more people on, but you can wait that out and sell it on Monday if you want to. The other thing to this is on top of crafting pile of meds to sell them, if you use them to barter for sugar with therapists, you know, you use 6 of them, that means you're getting your sugar for 70 to 75K each, which makes it profitable to actually craft moonshine. And anybody else who isn't doing that is having to buy their sugar anywhere from 90 to 100K right now. I also do make SJ6s from time to time, especially if I get an SJ1 or an NACL without a raid, without the found in raid status. Just try to make the most of this by buying your meds at the low end. I shoot for under 13K, and I actually buy up lots of meds under 13K whenever I see them, just because I use them in Propitals and SJ6s. And speaking of the Propital craft, this is another one that's not a traditional craft for money making, but is also a good thing to keep in mind. If you use golden stars, or even if you find a golden star on somebody who took it out of their secure container because they found a LEDX or something, if it's a 1 out of 10, don't use it up. Take that with you, because that thing's worth a ton of money. It's worth essentially the same as a full golden star when it comes to the craft for Propitals. So you take that 1 or 2 use golden star, you turn it into Propitals, and then you can sell those Propitals and make anywhere from 75 to 80K on the market and recover some of the costs of those golden stars. And this is what I do. I always use golden stars. I run them down to 2 or 1 uses left, and then I turn them into a Propital and buy another one, and it takes about half the cost out of that golden star, which for some days can be over 150K. Now, this one's going to be real quick. The Nutrition Center, there's not much in here to craft. You know, I'm not even crafting anything right now. I was when I was power leveling, which I have a video on that if you want to check that out. I was running stuff in here to power level, but you just can't make money or even so much break even on things anymore. Some people do the Williston craft, especially if you can get your teas a little bit cheaper, and then use those to either get the M1A or maybe break even with the nutrition unit. But right now, there's just nothing in here making money. That being said, if you do get non-found in raid chocolates, you can use this to make sugars, and then you can sell those sugars and make a little bit of money, or use those in your moonshine craft. It's up to you. Now, At the water collector and booze generator. The water collector is in an interesting spot right now. You can still make money just by running it, even though the math is kind of tight. Just because of the flea market fee, it's actually better to turn your super water into moonshine and sell it right now. And that's because the flea market fee is about 0.5% lower on the moonshine than it is a super water, though you're still going to make money if all you're doing is selling it. And one thing you have to remember is that when you, I'm going to jump in here real quick, when you use a water filter, it doesn't use 100 of 100 units here to make a water filter. With no skills, it takes 65 of 100 units, but the higher you level up your hideout skills, that number gets lower and lower. Right now, I'm less than 50. I use less than 50 units to craft a single super water. So keep that in mind. And if you're curious how I have 3 water filters here, it's because I have elite hideout management, and I have a video talking about all of that too if you want to go check that out. Now, the booze generator, the thing that's interesting about the booze generator here is it's kind of the more complicated crafts right now, but it can make you money, even without a level 3 intel center. So the premise is when you're buying these, you need 2 sugars and a super water, right? When you're looking at this, I use crafted super water. You can buy it, especially if you find it cheap, but then I almost always singly use the barter packs of sugar to make moonshine. And these barter packs of sugar are at Therapist, which right here, it's 6 pile of meds. Gets you this barter for this sugar. Now this sells out quickly. Here in about an hour when she resets, I'll do it again and I'll get my sugar. The other one you have to keep in mind is these Emily Rye croutons, right? You can buy 4 of these things from her for about 13K, and this is a pretty good price right there, so I'm going to buy that. Anything under 15,000 I try to buy if I don't get them out of raid. The other barter for sugar is here at Jaeger. Now you come in here and it's right there, and he has 5 Amelia Rye croutons to give you a pack of sugar. So if you do both of these barters, with the current way the market sits on prices, you can get 2 sugars for an average price of about 72.5. One's about 75,000, one's about 70,000. So if you get those 2 and then you use those to craft moonshine, you're going to make a profit, and you make a profit all the way down to about 280K on the actual booze generator, the moonshine. Where it's selling right now, as long as you're above 280K, you're making money, and that's without having an Intel level 3. If you have a level 3 Intel, you can actually buy all your components at market prices and make money. You make a very small amount, but it works out. So you just make that much more if you do what I'm talking about here and have a level 3 Intel center. Before we go any further, I want to take a quick second and thank the patrons that support me through Patreon. It's patreon.com/Airwingmarine. Those guys' support has allowed me to do a couple of things, like get a little bit better of equipment. We've got some more lights, new lighting on the way. We're going to be getting a new camera soon. I was able to upgrade my internet, which is helping out with the stream quality and uploading videos faster, and also helps me pay for some of the editors I do for some of my other videos. Those guys that help, like Church and stuff, that help with the meme-ish kind of funny videos. That's kind of outside of my realm of how I do videos. So you can see their names there. They're a huge help. Their support is much appreciated, and it helps a bunch. If you're interested in becoming one of those Patreons, we've got different levels with a couple of different perks and things. One of the big ones is obviously when I upload my YouTube videos, patrons get first crack at them. They get them for about a day and a half before I send them out to everybody else. Kind of depends on the time sensitivity of the video, but they get a look at them. They get to take advantage of them before it goes out to the big YouTube world. Just one way I can say thank you to those guys for their support, other than doing it right here. So without wasting any more time, we'll go look at the Intel Center now. So we've talked about it a bunch here already, but the Intel Center, there's a couple of crafts in here that are worth mentioning. At the end of the day, there's not a huge difference between VPX's graphics cards and Intel. The reason being is they fluctuate a lot. So kind of pick one, get to know the prices of the components really well, buy those really cheap, and that's going to be your best thing to do. If you're still short graphics cards, that's the one I tell everybody to make, because you can make that graphics card, you can put it in your Bitcoin farm, it can make coins, and you get a little bit more profit out of that graphics card. And then once you fill up your Bitcoin farm, once you start getting cards out of raid that are not found in raid, like let's say you're on interchange, you get a graphics card and Kilo steamrolls you and you die, right? You get out with that non-found in raid. You can actually swap that non-found in raid graphics card out for a found in raid one in your Bitcoin farm, and then sell that graphics card on the flea market. And so not only are you making the profit eventually there, you're also making all that money that thing used to make a Bitcoin for you. So it's a win-win at the end of the day. But VPXs are still good to make, and Intels, especially if you get out of raid with non-found in raid thumb drives or paper. It's one of the best things to do with those. Now, over here at the Lavatory with this fine piece of art on the door, outside of any special circumstances, the best thing to craft right now is the Cordura using the slings. It'll net you about 10K an hour. It's super easy because you just buy 4 of them right from Ragman, and then you turn it into Cordura, and then you just keep doing that, and you sell it, and you're doing good. Now, there is a catch here. If you have Shooter Born in Heaven complete, buy up the cheap mag boxes at every cycle. So you can buy one from Mechanic every cycle if you have Shooter Born in Heaven done. And you can turn 3 of those into a Lucky Scav junk box. This craft, even though it's long, will net you over 20K an hour in profit. Whereas it's not even possible to make profit if you're buying the mag boxes off the normal price on the flea market. And just to show you here how much this can actually be, right now, as I'm making this video, you know, I can buy these for 289,000 versus 442, 445, 450,000 rubles. So, you know, you're 150, 160,000 cheaper than everybody else can do it if you have Shooter Born in Heaven complete. So that's something that if you're close, but you're not quite there and you're not feeling like it, here's a good reason to go get Shooter Born in Heaven done. Now, Scav Backpacks, Bleach, and Shampoo are all crafts worth mentioning as well, and you can still make a decent profit with them, especially if you're really good at getting the components for things like Bleach and selling the Bleach high. You can really make a lot of money there, more than you can even make with a Cordura. Or if you do things like when you're drinking your water out of raid to get your hydration back up, if you drink those bottles down to 1 of 60 and don't completely use them up, you can use that 1 of 60 to make many of the items in the Lavatory here and almost essentially negate that cost of that. So you're only buying a soap for the shampoo, or, you know, that doesn't count in the Scav Backpack craft. You're just buying the backpack and the fleece. And doing little things like that help a ton with making profits on crafting. Now, the Workbench is probably one of my favorite modules, just because there's so many options here, and it opens up the door for a lot of people to make money. It doesn't matter what level you are, what kind of stuff you got out of raid. You can use almost everything in here to make money. And this is also the one where the don't stack crafts rule applies the most. A lot of people out there like to craft gunpowders, whether it's red or green gunpowder, and then take that gunpowder and turn it into ammo. Now, if you're after making bullets because you burned through a ton of them and that's what you would rather do than make money in the hideout, then by all means do that. But if you're after profit, you're going to make the most money just crafting the gunpowders and selling those. Don't make the bullets. While your individual profit is actually higher doing that, I will give you that. You will make more rubles with the 2 crafts than you will with just the 1 craft by itself, any individual craft. The problem is the time. It takes so long to accomplish that craft that the amount of rubles you make in an hour is way less, sometimes even half or more than what you would make if you just made the gunpowder, sold it, and then you bought your bullets on the flea market. You know, and it depends on what bullets you use. Obviously, this doesn't make sense with things like, I don't know, you know, the 7N31 craft. That's not good for bullets so much. But like things like BP and stuff like that, the price is so close to what you craft it for anyways, and you don't make enough money that at the end of the day, you make more just selling it and using that money to fund your operations. So if you're into making money, the best craft right now is hands down red gunpowder. Even with the prices of all the other components going up. I mean, I've seen blues pushing 30K and matches in the 20s without the fuel crisis. And I think the green gunpowders are even pushing 90K this afternoon. As long as you're buying the components close to the moderate prices, you don't even have to pick the lower end of the swings. You just get them at the averages, and then you sell your red gunpowder. This craft beats all the other crafts in the hideout. Now, it's a little bit harder. So if you're after one that's easier, that doesn't take quite as much work, but is really close to the same amount of profit, it's going to be the circuit board craft that uses the flat screwdriver and the DVD player. That craft is very close to the red gunpowder in profit. It's about 10 or 15% less profit, but it's a lot easier. You really only have to worry about one component because DVD players don't swing in crazy prices. The flat screwdrivers are really the only thing you want to try and buy cheap. But those are your 2 top crafts right now. Vogs, if you can get your components really cheap, again, Vogs can be fantastic. And then an honorable mention here that I mention every week is the green gunpowder. As long as you have Spa Tour Part 2 done, you can buy the M67s from Peacekeeper for about 9,000 rubles. It's in dollars, but nonetheless, you because you can buy these components and then you buy the smoke grenades from Proper, you buy them both from vendors, and the resets happen faster than you can craft through all the materials. All you got to do is buy these materials at the same price every time, turn them into green gunpowder, and sell the green gunpowder. You're not going to make as much money as these other crafts, but there's a very little risk involved in it. You don't even have to think, and it just takes 1 or 2 clicks and you've got your thing. And it's about an hour to an hour and a half, depending on your hideout skill or on your crafting skill, to make these things. So it's a great craft for people that, I don't want to call you lazy, but people that don't want to dive into the hideout stuff as much as others. So even if you're not super min-maxing, this is the green gunpowder is a great craft for you. Well, that wraps up the video. I appreciate you watching. Make sure you hit that like button because it helps out the channel a bunch. And subscribe for future content. We also have a Discord, links down in the description, that you can come join. We're filling up with a bunch of chill people who just love to play Tarkov. If you're looking to support the channel in other ways, we've launched a Patreon with some benefits like access to a Discord channel, constantly updated spreadsheet for my Hideout calculations, and some other things if you want to go check it out over there. Lastly, thanks for your support on YouTube. It means the world to me and I greatly appreciate every one of you. So with that, we'll wrap it up, and we'll see you in Tarkov.